G'day guys, Whandit. My name is Wildcard. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for watching my content. I really do appreciate it. Italy versus the Springboks. This has to be the most impressive performance by the Springboks since winning the Rugby World Cup in 2019. And you might say, oh, the Springboks had better wins against the All Blacks, yada yada yada. But there's a very important fact here that a lot of Springbok fans will be really happy about. This is the first game the Springboks came back from winning the Rugby World Cup, was able to utilize the width of the field comprehensively and put on a clinic of tries against I would say Italy is a tier 1 opponent, against a tier 1 opponent. Yeah. The Springboks has in fact been too conservative, been criticized for playing too much kicking game, taking the easy options for 3 points, even against tier 2 nations coming out of the lockdowns. If we have a quick look at some of the stats, the last game that the Springboks actually had a kind of blowout, you would say, was against Georgia. No disrespect to Georgia, but Georgia is barely on the cusp of making in the Rugby World Cup. And they're, 40 points to 9, if you can see here, was the score when they returned and came out of the lockdown. Given the circumstances, that was not really a huge performance by the Springboks. They did score a number of tries against the Georgian team with pretty much the Springbok, almost full strength side as well. That was not really that impressive in consideration of the situation. And the Springbok has been criticized for the last 2 years for not being able to utilize the width to score tries, to play expansive rugby. And that's something that's like a monkey that finally in this game, I think the Springboks has gotten off the backs. This was a beautiful display of rugby in the second half. So many beautiful tries by individual performances, by just good set piece plays. And yeah, I think the last time the All Blacks had a performance like this was last year against maybe Tonga. This is, it's been a while since the All Blacks was able to do this, and the Springboks building towards the Rugby World Cup. This is exactly what the fans wanted to see. And I was so impressed by the performance in the second half. For the Azuris, first half was really clinical and close. In fact, before the bomb squad came onto the field, it was going to look like there could potentially be an upset in the making for the Italians. The Italians had some really good, nice pressure defense, forcing turnovers to the breakdowns. Italians were able to disrupt the Springbok lineouts quite effectively. The Italians were able to score a try. Capuzzo was able to score a try 10 minutes into the game, putting the Italians ahead. And it was looking like this could be an upset in the making. And this is, not like a B team against the Springboks. This was against pretty much a full-strength Springbok side. And then the Springboks were, really struggling in the first half against the clinical performance of a very clinical performance of an Italian side. In the halftime, the Springboks made some big adjustments to their team. So, what do you call it? Franco Mostert and Eben Nesbitt gets pushed onto the field. Franco Mostert moves to the lock. Eben Nesbitt on the lock, and they taken off both the newer trial locks on the field in Morat and Marvin Ori. Both get taken off, and as soon as the locks were exchanged, the Springboks literally looked like a different team in the second half. I was able to dominate the breakdowns. The set piece looked a lot better, more clinical. The more was just immediately noticeably become much better structured, and just was able to steamroll over the Italians. A couple of interesting attacking options for the Springboks as well. You look like Philly LaRue is starting to play like a second playmaker for the Springboks. He's able to push himself into that inside center and sometimes outside center position to set the Springboks up for some nice little plays that really opened up the defense from the Azuris. So we saw a few, with this little weird kind of like crossfield kicks and little grubber kicks behind by Philly LaRue in that 12-13 channel when he's pushed up into the attacking line, which is really interesting to see. Also, maybe it's I don't know what's going on here. Andre Esterhuizen is cleaning out all the breakdowns. He did a lot of cleanouts this game, much more than what you expect for a center. Typical center this week. I have to look at the stats later. I felt like he just every breakdown he's in there. I thought he looked like a lock. Okay, I thought they actually put him at a lock position at some point. And maybe that's the reason why Villarreal is moving to 12th position, because Esterhuizen is out in the breakdown a lot. So I'm not sure if that's the plan for the Springboks, how they wanted to conduct their thing, because obviously having Esterhuizen hitting that first breakdown would mean that a very fast ball for the next breakdown. So maybe that's a strategy the Springboks is utilizing, but that is really interesting to see as well. And also, I think one of the key things that a lot of fans were kind of talking about, Makazole Mapimpi getting dropped for Curly Alensa. I do think that Curly Alensa is a better player than Makazole Mapimpi, at least in 2021. At this stage, the angles that Curly Alensa will be able to bring, the footwork is just a lot better than Makazole Mapimpi. Mapimpi is more like a bulldozer, forward running, hard carrying ball, and he's just power and strength game, whereas Alensa is more of a Cheslin Kobe style, agile, and just the angles he's able to open up the Italian defense's game are quite impressive. I thought I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a start against England next week over Mapimpi once again. Yeah, that's my opinion. Let me know your thoughts there. So, as we already mentioned, the series really started to fall apart in the second half, and they has shown some tremendous improvement for the team over the last, maybe I would say in this November international series. And yeah, the goal kicking was better for the Italian side as well. Last week they missed a lot, so this week the goal kicking was much better for the Italians. But yeah, just not able to hold up to the bomb squad coming off the bench. So with that being said, maybe a little bit of controversy. Again, Rassi has got himself banned for 2 weeks as his criticism of the referee. Don't want to go too much into it because we're not here to talk about it. Barnsley apparently received death threats. Come on, guys, that's really not acceptable for a sport. You shouldn't really do that. It's okay for you to vent your frustration, but to threat somebody's life over a sport, really, it's not good. No matter what, even if he's the actual cheat, you shouldn't issue death threats. That's just way too much. But yeah, Rassi's gonna be banned. He's not gonna be at the England game next week either. But yeah. So with that being said, let's have a go through some of the interesting stats of the game. The Springboks 553 run meters to Italians 163. Just to give you an idea, at halftime, the Italians was 53 run meters to 198 run meters to the Springboks. Springboks still had more control at halftime. It was kind of interesting, actually. The two teams had a very different kicking style, where the Italians really opted for long-range field territory kicking game, whereas the Springboks was really happy to do short kicks. So whether it be high balls, cross-field kicks, little kick over the tops. So as a result, the run meters look a lot more impressive for the Springboks, especially in the first half, due to the fact that the Italians were just punting the ball down the field, allowing the Springboks to just run back essentially for free for quite a fair bit of the distance. So, but if you look at a little bit of details, the Italians had 27 carries, the Springboks 50 carries. The turnovers, Italians consider 5 turnovers, the Springboks consider 6 at halftime. So full time, as you can see, the carries for the Springboks 106, carries for Italians 65, turnovers conceded Italians 11 at full time and 8 for the Springboks at full time. So the Springboks only conceded 2 turnovers when Eben Nesbeth was on the field in the second half. Yeah, huge play once again for the King. The tackles made, 72 tackles made for the Italians at halftime, missed 10 tackles already. The Springboks was really concerning at halftime. They only had to make 36 tackles and missed 11 tackles at halftime. So that is something that Ninamba would not be very happy with. But the full time, the Springboks did do a little bit better in the second half. 85 tackles overall, 25 missed tackles overall. So the Springboks missed 15 more tackles in the second half, which is still not very good, but slightly better than the first half performance. But overall, the Springboks defense was a little bit lacking, a little bit to be a little bit critical here. The kicks in play, 22 kicks for the Italy 22, Springboks 24 overall. At halftime, the Springboks was actually losing the kicking game, believe it or not. Italy has 16 kicks, the Springboks 13. Like I said, the style's a little bit different, so the Springboks was giving a bit too much space to work with, just running the ball back in the first half. The overall lineouts, like I mentioned, at halftime, only one lineouts lost for both teams, but in the second half, Eben Etzebeth was able to clearly put more pressure on the Italian side. 2 lineouts lost for the Italians in the second half, 3 overall, and no lineouts lost for the Springboks. Just to give an idea, the Italians had 5 lineouts, only had 7 lineouts in the second half, and they lost 2 out of the 7. So yeah, that is really like huge pressure. A huge impact play from Eben Etzebeth coming off the bench just in that lineout area alone. Not to mention the breakdown and structure that he brings onto the field. Penalty counts 6-4 at halftime and full time 10-10 for both teams. So let's quickly go through the recap of the game. So like I mentioned, the game actually was really close at the beginning of the game in the first half, tick for tack. And it was looking like there could potentially be an upset on the making. So the game started off, actually, the Springboks started off quite quick. They kind of like was able to push the Italians off out of their own 5-meter line right from the kickoff, and the Springboks threw a quick line out. Faf de Klerk tried to dart into the corner and gets pushed out. So all this happened in like a minute of the game. So it looked like Faf almost scored in a minute of the game, but yeah, they get pushed out. The Italian is eventually gets to the exit. Springboks gets the line out inside the Italian half from the exit. They just, bring the line out in, get a more going, get a penalty advantage, and the ball just comes out. The Italians were rushing defensing. Damien Valimsa looked like he could almost got his pass intercepted, but he just held the ball a little bit. Nice, cool, calm head. Steps around the intercept player, throws the ball over the top to Willy Leroux, and then just good hands to the winger. Curly Ardenza goes in for the first try. 5 points to 0 for the Springboks 2 minutes into the game. 7 minutes into the game, Esterhuizen was cleaning out the breakdowns, and then he gets penalized for, essentially crawling on the ground on his hands. Italy gets back 3 points to 5. 9 minutes into the game, kickoff. Italy gets called for double movement. Springboks gets a free 3-pointer right from the return. 3 points to 8. On the 11th minute, again, Italy was able to recover the ball from the kickoff, and just beautiful play. The ball goes to, I think it was one of their forwards. He just gets the ball, loops the ball behind to Capuzzo. Capuzzo was like looping around the rock from the open side to the blind side, and he just run this beautiful line, went straight through a huge gap on the blind side in the Springbok defense, carves right open into the corner, try. This was absolutely beautiful. Nobody even touched him. Went straight through, and suddenly scored 10 points today, and it was looking like this is game on. 15 minutes into the game, a little bit of stale kicking by the Springboks. The rush defense by the Italians were really putting a lot of pressure on the Springboks. So both Faf and, in fact, there was a weird kind of like dab kick by what's his name? By Dialendi as well. So there was a bit of a pressure from the Italy, resulting in some poor kicks from the Springboks. So on the 20 minutes into the game, Cheslin Kobe gets isolated at the breakdown from a bit of a kicking game going on. Italy gets another 3-pointer, 13 points to 8. So 21 minutes into the game, the Springboks had a 5-meter line out, attacking line out. They set up for a more, and the Italy was able to defend the more. Franco Mostert falls over, and they seals the ball and were not able to get the ball out. Turnover. 24 minutes into the game, the Springboks was able to get a penalty in the kicking range. Cheslin Kobe slots this one, 13 points to 11. On the 28th minute, a nice little dap over the top by Willy Leroux, and the Springboks was able to ping the Italians inside their own, inside the own 5-meter line essentially. So the Italian number 10 gets the ball, and he has to run the ball out of his own 5-meter line because the pressure from the Springbok chasers from this little dab behind, little ball little dab kick behind from Villarreal, which was just really, really beautiful. So the Springboks set up for a line out. They throw the ball. The ball comes in. They set for a more pretty standard stuff, and it was looking like the ball was being defended. So Bungi Bonabi detaches, charges the try line. He gets tackled short, and then he places the ball on the try line. Try time. It looked like it could potentially be a double movement, but it was okay because it was down, and then he places the ball. He has one opportunity to place the ball. He had to wrestle the ball free from one of the Italian players and put the ball down. Try time. 13 points to 18. The Springboks gets himself back in front. On the so after this, the in the last 10 minutes or so, both teams both teams had some opportunities to score tries. So Italy had a really good period where they were camped inside the Springboks 5-meter line. A lot of crash balls, a couple of forcing for some penalties out of the Springboks, but eventually the Italians went for taking the initiative to go for the try, set up for a line out and set up for a more, and the Springboks were able to destroy the more and not able to and save themselves from a try. Halftime score 13 points to 18, not looking too fancy for the Springboks. And second half starts, and immediately the Springboks take us another level. Immediately the Springboks just kicks himself into another gear. So it started off the Italians was able to actually get the first penalty on the board. 4 minutes into the second half, they kicked for 3, 18 points to 16. Slowly catch themselves back up. 46 minutes of the game. From the kickoff, Cheslin Kobe runs in, catches the ball on the full from the kickoff. Untouched, runs straight in, try time. Looked like he put his hammy doing this, but it was absolutely beautiful try. 23 points to 16 to the Springboks. And then immediately from this try, the Springboks just able to put themselves back into an attacking position, build a few nice phases, and then spread the ball out wide. Kurti Adensa gets the ball in the wing, wide open, runs in for his second try, 30 points to 16, 54 minutes in play. Multiple penalties and lineouts later, the Springboks gets another 5-meter lineout, a long ball to the back of the lineout. Nice little, there was no more. They just looped behind with Huaga Smith loops around. Sorry, not Huaga Smith. I think it was anyway, they had a person looping around to crash the ball. There wasn't a more to crash the ball, and then Huaga Smith gets the breakdown. Pick and go, try, with help from Andre Esterhuizen, quick clean out. So Huaga Smith was able to get the a try for the Springboks, 37 points to 16. At this point, things are start looking a little bit dire for the Azuris. 62 minutes into the game, the Springboks gets another opportunity inside the Italian 22, goes for a more, and then just immediately goes in for a try. And at this point, Evan Roos was on the field. The whole bench was bomb squad is pretty much on the field, and the more just looks so much more clinical at this point. Springboks is up 42 points to 16 with Manny Lobok missing this kick. At this point, it's clear that Esterhuizen is playing like a forward. To me, he's doing a lot of cleanouts. 65 minutes into the game, another nice cross. What is it called? The Italians gives himself an opportunity. A nice crossfield kick for the Italians. And Monty Ioane catches this one, and then he just offloaded off the ground. A nice little passes between the Springbok players. And then Ibn Esbeth makes the tackle on one of the on the Italian players on the try line, saves the try, but the ball comes out. Canone, pick and go, jumps over the try line, could not be stopped. 21 points to 41. It's looking like still probably a bit too far for the Italians to come back, but it's still possible technically for the Italians to still come back at this point. But then on the 69th minute, the Springboks was just clearly playing a really nice area control with the kicking game, pinning the Italians inside their own 22, and the Italy was not able to exit their own half, resulting in the Springboks turning over the ball from inside the Italian, basically 5 meters, just bit just outside the 5 meter line from the Italian try line. The Springboks were able to turn the ball over, And then there was a short ball to Kitty. Steven Kitsop crashes over. 49 points to 21. On the 72nd minute, there was a nice little scrum for the Springboks. Gets a penalty advantage. The ball comes out inside the Italian half. This was just outside the 22, I think. And again, just nice little handling. The ball goes out, kind of a little loop behind. Villa LaRue gets the ball out wide. Again, just almost playing like a center. Able to draw a couple of defenders. Gets the ball free to Willemse. Runs in for the try. Willemse is playing on the wing at the moment because Cheslin Kobe pulled his hamstrings. 56 points to 21. And then finally, on the 79th minute, the South Africans were running the ball out of their own 22. Curtis Arendse gets the ball out wide and he just carved up the Italian defense. He ran like 40, maybe 50 meters all the way into the Italian 22. And then inside ball to Cobus Reinach. Runs in for a try. 63 points to 21 final score. Yeah, that second half, Curtis Arendse. Yeah, super impressive. And yeah, let me know your thoughts, guys. Thanks for watching. I gotta quickly go watch the other games now. Like, comment, subscribe, and see you guys later. Cheers.